Hola, hola! My name is Julian Cruz Diaz, and welcome to Una Preguntita. As a Texas Rican, my life has been anything but traditional. I went from studying engineering to farming in Hawaii to building a career in nonprofits before diving into entrepreneurship. Every twist and turn taught me something new. But let's be real, life doesn't come with a manual. In Una Preguntita, we always begin con una pregunta, a question. So dime, have you ever felt like you're thriving in one area of your life while Googling how to be a functioning adult for the rest of it at 2 a.m.? Yeah, been there too. Every week, you and I are diving into the stuff nobody really teaches us. How to actually understand ourselves, build connections that matter, and handle those awkward conversations that keep us up at night. Whether you're figuring out workplace dynamics or trying to level up your emotional intelligence game, we're getting into it. I'm bringing you big questions, tools, and strategies for you to build the life and career you want. No filtered perfection, just honest conversations and practical ways to grow into your unapologetic self. Grab the cafecito, get comfy, and let's figure this out together. Esto es Una Preguntita, where curiosity and understanding leads to action. Vamos! All right, amigui, ya tú sabes, we always start con una preguntita. So, la preguntita is, the question is, why is there a gap between what we say matters to us and where we actually put our time and energy into? Like, why do our daily actions tell a completely different story than our stated values? We claim we want more balance in life, but we keep saying yes to every little thing that comes up. So our schedules end up looking like a chaotic group project without no leader, right? Or we say we want deeper friendships, but somehow we're always just too busy to text back or actually plan that coffee date. We swear we want to pursue that passion project, but oh look, there's another night of you binge watching a show you're not even into. It's weird, right? We mean what we say, and we really want these things. And the worst part is we end up beating ourselves up when we don't follow through. When we keep repeating, I should have done XYZ, but I'm just not disciplined enough. And so because I'm not disciplined enough, I'm going to beat myself up for it. Does this cycle sound familiar? Something just gets lost in translation. Honestamente, I don't think it's only about willpower. I think part of it has to do with the disconnect. I sent out a poll through email, which, by the way, if you're not already on my weekly newsletter, you are missing out, amigui. Somehow in adulthood, we're expected to just know things, right? But we don't. This newsletter comes at you weekly with stories, life topics, and step-by-step tools to help make your life a little easier. If you aren't already signed up for From Scratch, my newsletter, make sure to join the group. I've left the link down below in the show notes. But anyways, okay, back to la preguntita. So I sent out this poll, ¿verdad? Y pregunté, I asked, which of these statements resonates most with you? 1, I should know what I'm doing right now. 2, exhausted but still smiling. And 3, is it me? Or is life lifing too hard? At first, I thought these were totally different topics. Like I thought one was imposter syndrome, one was burnout, and the other was all about big life changes. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized, oh my God, espérate, they're connected. So that's what we're diving into today. I'm going to be sprinkling in a few stories, and of course, I always give you step by step in order to get you out of that lost, tired, and stuck feeling you have. Let's start connecting the dots. As promised, we are starting off with a story time. Okay, so head back with me to 2017. I had just graduated from college, and my friends and family thought I'd do what everybody else does after college. You put on your big girl fancy pants on, get that engineering job my degree prepared me for, and of course rent an apartment to fill it with IKEA furniture. Well, if you know me, I'm not very traditional. I've always been a why girl. Like, why do we do things this way? Or why is this the expected path? Or why do I need to do XYZ? It's never come from a point of like, I want to make your life difficult or some kind of attitude. Simply, I just need to understand the reasoning before I commit to doing something, right? So your girl is freshly graduated, and instead of sending out resumes to engineering firms, she packed her bags and actually headed to Hawaii. So yes, Hawaii, specifically the island of Molokai. It's September 2017. You found me living on a farm and volunteering at a local Hawaiian nonprofit every day. O sea, completely immersed in this beautiful island life. My days started around 6:30 a.m. for breakfast. I would just have some fruit that was grown on the farm, or maybe fry up an egg from the chickens and have it on a slice of, we also made homemade bread. Then usually around 7:30, I'd hitchhike into town. Yes, hitchhike. And Auntie would usually pick me up on her way to drop off her grandkid in town at school. And then from town, I'd bike to the fish pond, which was a few miles out of town where the nonprofit I was working at was. I worked there all day, and then around 3 p.m. I would do it all in reverse to head back to the farm. So now that I say this out loud, I'm really glad I didn't tell my parents everything I did. But anyways, okay. After work, I'd usually come home, feed the animals, work in the garden a little bit, make some dinner, and play cards with the other people that were also working on the farm. By 9 p.m., all of us, we couldn't keep our eyes open anymore. We would end up going into bed. Without Wi-Fi and essentially living outside all day, it was really easy to not be glued to your phone. Y sabes que it was magical. It was so beautiful. I was able to slow down, especially after coming from the fast-paced New England life. Finally, I had learned how to enjoy reading books because I was just on a slower pace, and I got to watch the sunset almost every night on the roof. It was beautiful. Like, who gets to do that in life? But, and there's a big but, about 8 months into this almost perfect paradise, my savings account was almost in the double digits. I was no longer a thousandaire and officially a very low hundredaire at this point. And those student loans, they were about to kick in. So adulthood was definitely coming at me. And I was feeling off. Something wasn't clicking. And it wasn't just my bank account situation. I just felt mismatched. After coming back from Hawaii, I eventually found my first big girl job in North Carolina. But the question of why did I feel off toward the end of my time in Hawaii kept circulating in my head. It didn't hit me until years later. My goals and my values weren't aligned. That was my aha moment. My goals and my values weren't aligned. At the time, my goals were pretty straightforward. I wanted to be a financially responsible adult, the whole earn an income, have an apartment, buy a car, etc., the basics of adulting, ¿verdad? But working on the farm in exchange for a place to stay and food was beautiful, and volunteering at the nonprofit was soul-filling, amazing, but terrible for my wallet and my goal at the time. I wasn't getting any closer to those financial goals, ni un chin chin, right? So where had I gone wrong? I realized later on I had swung too far in the opposite direction. Mi valores, my values, were traveling, cultural immersion, supporting a community through my work. Those were all being checked off, but my actions, they weren't aligning with my goals at the time, like not even close. And that's when it hit me. The sweet spot isn't choosing between your values or your goals. It's finding the harmony between them. I'm going to say that again in case you missed it. The sweet spot isn't choosing between your values or your goals. It's finding the harmony between them. The recipe for a happy life is 1 part values and 1 part goals. That's it. Así, simple. Mira, let's make this super clear. Say you value creativity and innovation, right? But your goal is financial stability and career advancement. The misalignment might happen when you take a soul-crushing corporate job that pays well, but you're editing Excel sheets until midnight every night. With zero creative input, your goals might be met, but your values are not. Okay? Another example, you quit your job and start a passion project with no plan. You burn through your savings and end up eating ramen. Your values are being checked off, right? But your goals are not. Remember, if you value creativity and innovation and your goals are financial stability, where can you align them? Maybe it could be that you negotiate for a 4-day work week so you can build your side hustle on Fridays, right? Check for finances, check for values. Or maybe you join a startup where you might make slightly less income, but you get equity and creative freedom. Check, check. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about finding where they can coexist and support each other. My experience in Hawaii taught me something crucial. You need both. You need to honor your values, aka what brings you life, and you need to align them with your goals for longevity. We're looking for longevity here, people. Now, let's bring it back to you, Amor. You might not have swung as drastically as I did. A lo mejor you didn't pack up your bags and move to a little tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or live off of your savings until almost the last dollar in your bank account. But take a moment to reflect. Are your values and goals aligned right now? Are you utilizing one to support the other? Or are they in constant tension? How do you shift and make plans for the future? First, let's make sure we're on the same page. I want to give a shout out to my friend Veda Booth for gifting me with these really just wise words. She said, when we dream big and reverse engineer our path, our aspirations tend to be much larger compared to if we plan forward from where we are right now. Let that sink in. When we dream big and reverse engineer our path, our aspirations tend to be larger compared to if we plan forward from where we are right now. O sea, we have to start in the future and work our way backwards to follow a track. Because if we create a path from where we are right now to the future, we end up dreaming much smaller. Easiest example is if I ask you, Amigi, what do you want to accomplish next week? You might say, clear my inbox or finish that report. But if I were to ask you, oye, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? 1, you would be overwhelmed. But 2, suddenly you're talking about maybe writing a book or starting a movement or living in Barcelona. Okay, so regresamos a la misma pregunta. We go back to the same question. How do you shift and make plans for the future? Bueno, amigui, you are in for a treat today. Te voy a decir un secreto. I'm going to fill you in on a secret. The secret is Post-its. Yeah, those colorful little stickies you have all over the place. I follow a sequence and use Post-its to align my values and goals. Here's how to do it. We're going to go through 4 steps. Step number 1, dream big. Go grab those Post-its. See actual physical Post-its or at least paper. Not those little ones that you get on your laptop. I mean real paper. Write down everything that comes to mind about where you want to go in life. I'm saying, what does success look like to you? What makes you feel alive? No idea is too big or too small. Let your thoughts flow freely. This is a non-judgmental zone. Simply beautiful, wild dreaming, okay? So step number 1, dream big. Step number 2, here we go. Once you've brain dumped all of your dreams, take a moment to review them. Do you notice any connections or themes? Are there several Post-its that mention creative projects or new learning challenges or how to be outside more? Start grouping your Post-its together into categories. Start seeing patterns. So step 1, dream big. Step 2, find patterns. Step number 3, identify your values. Now, people ask me, what exactly does values mean? Like, what are you talking about? The way I define values is what brings you life. P.S. I did not come up with this definition. I have to give credit where credit is due. I actually learned this from Misael Diaz. He is a WPI alum who is a mentor of leadership entrepreneurs, a best-selling author, and the founder of the Leadership Academy. So, thank you, Misael. So identify your values. What brings you life? Look at those Post-its, look at the groupings, figure out what are they telling you? What are your true values? Is it freedom? Is it connection, growth, security? Write each core down on a new Post-it. By now, you're probably like, great, Sunyan, I've dreamt big, found connections and patterns, I've figured out what my values are, what brings me in life. Now what? ¿Cómo lo conecto a mi vida? How do I connect it? Bueno, we work our way into step 4. Step 4 is create alignment. Take a look at your values you found. What did you write down? Now, do you remember the equation we mentioned at the top? The recipe for a happy life is 1 part values, 1 part goals. So far, you have your values and your dreams and goals, right? We're creating alignment by working backwards. What actions do you need to do in order to learn that new language you want to learn? What triggers do you need in order to be outside more? How can you actually practice these values? If you need to add more Post-its, go ahead and do that. But the key is to arrange them in order. What needs to happen first? What builds on what? How do you get closer to your goals while still taking your values into account? This becomes your roadmap, amigi. This is what guides you toward those big goals, those big dreams, while also aligning your values to a practice. I love this exercise because as a visual learner myself, it helps me see all of my thoughts laid out in front of me. Instead of letting them continue to swirl in my head, I'm actually able to tangibly see them, edit them, maybe even throw them out if they're not aligning well. Which, by the way, is so freeing, taking things off of your I should be doing this to-do list. ¿Y qué pasa if you get stuck? Papitas, go take a walk, breathe fresh air, drink some water. Sometimes we have to take a step away from the problem before we can actually solve it. When you come back, I promise you'll have a much clearer view. It's one thing to say, oh, I'd love to travel the world one day. I get so much enjoyment from newness, but you need to take steps to get there. Are you looking at flight prices? Are you saving weekly? Are you building your internal confidence and taking little mini solo trips close by? How are you working toward your big goals? Okay, we're going to recap those 4 steps. Number 1, dream big. Number 2, find patterns. Number 3, identify your values. And number 4, create alignment. Now, let me address something really important here. This alignment that you're working on, it's not a one and done deal. And it's definitely not, quote unquote, finding your purpose. This is going to sound controversial, but I think that concept is BS. I'm saying it out loud. What I know for sure is what matters to you when you're 22 will be very different than what matters to you at 35, 42, 56, 97. Life, perspective, experience, they change us. And they should. Perhaps it's my age and maybe my own experiences, but I don't believe in finding your purpose in life. But I do believe in finding alignment to live a more fulfilled life at whatever season you're at. This is why it's so important to check in on yourself regularly. The point isn't to create a perfect life where nothing is ever hard. That's not realistic, and honestly, it wouldn't help us grow at all, right? The point is to make sure that the hard things in your life are worth it because they're connected to what truly matters to you. Te voy a dar un ejemplo. A personal example from my life right now is building this podcast. It's hard. There are nights where I really just cannot turn off those thought zoomies at 2 a.m. And I'm editing episodes every chance I get, and the constant, oh, I need to do this. I totally forgot. But I wouldn't trade it for something easier that was less fulfilling. Unlike my time in Hawaii, this kind of hard feels right. It feels like growth. Even on the difficult days, there's this underlying current of, yes, this matters. This is aligned with the values I have and what I want to create. And that's the difference between life is hard and life is lifing too hard. When you're in alignment, the challenges feel purposeful. When you're out of alignment, they just feel pointless. All right, amigi, let's go ahead and let's go through a couple bullet points. I want to make sure you have some takeaways when you're walking away from today. Life feels extra hard when your values and goals are fighting each other. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. It just doesn't work. The sweet spot isn't choosing between values or goals. It's finding where they can dance together. You need both for longevity. Use the post-it method and get clear. Dream big, find patterns, identify your values, and create alignment. This isn't about finding a quote-unquote purpose. Your focus will shift throughout life, and that's normal and healthy. When you're aligned, challenges feel purposeful. When you're not, they just feel pointless. Remember, you determine how you live your life. No one else gets to write that story. Take the reins, get clear on what matters to you, and find the beautiful middle ground where they can support each other. Y lo último, remember you are exactly where you need to be on your journey. I'm cheering for you, amigi.
Zulian, ¿qué aprendiste esta semana?
Gracias, abuelo, por la preguntita. Oof, okay, so this has been on my mind lately, and I've been thinking that I really, truly believe in ownership. Like the idea that we all have the power to change our circumstances, our environment, our perspective, our framework, all of it. I don't know if this is just part of getting older or being an entrepreneur, but my patience for victimhood is low. And before anybody comes at me, let me explain. I'm not denying that tough things happen. Life will throw curveballs at us. Trust me, I know. Victimhood, though, is when you sit in the struggle, convinced there's nothing you can do about it. And listen, I get it. Sometimes it feels like things are out of our control. But more often than not, there's something deeper coming up for you. And it's up to you to understand yourself and support yourself. Honestly, the world feels wild right now. Things are changing fast, and uncertainty makes people uneasy. You see it everywhere, the them versus us mentality, this feeling like everything is falling apart. But maybe that's a sign you need to dig deep. Understand what exactly is coming up for you. Where is this stemming from? Instead of sitting in anxiety, ask yourself, what is the real root cause for my uneasiness? Not the world, just me. Once you're able to identify your root cause, what is it? Is it loneliness? Is it feeling lost? Is it needing somebody in your corner? You can begin to actually do something to support yourself. Maybe you feel like you need a real conversation with somebody who thinks totally differently to you. Maybe it's finding a cause to support and becoming part of something bigger than yourself. It could be that you need to feel connection with others, so start a book club, go join a community. Now, let me be clear, I'm not saying to avoid your feelings. You need to feel them. You need to sit with them. But don't let them trick you into believing you're powerless. You're not. You're not a bystander in your own life. And also, passion alone isn't enough. Action is what makes things change. So yeah, that's where I've been at this week. Big on ownership, big on action, and even bigger on remembering that we have more power than we think we do. Now, who's starting that book club? If you enjoyed this podcast just as much as I enjoyed creating it for you, please share it, rate it, and write a review. What did you take away from today? I'm sending you un huge abrazo y nos vemos en la próxima.